Moving on to the next topic, which is our school culture and climate survey results. This is an annual report we look at every year around this time. Dr. Swift, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam President and trustees. We're so delighted to receive our encyclopedia. If you, trustees, you've received your copy this evening. We are very grateful to our community. This year's Climate and Culture Survey of Schools represents more than 16,400, almost 16,500 individuals who took their time to help us do our work better. And so we're very proud in the Ann Arbor Public Schools that we look in the mirror to see how we're doing. And we can't do that very well without receiving input from our parents, our staff, our high school, middle school, and elementary school students. And so Ms. Linden, who oversees this project, and I'm very proud of her work on this project, trustees, this is our 5th year of giving this same culture and climate survey and having year-over-year data. We've made just a couple of adjustments. Ms. Linden can help you more specifically. A couple of adjustments around the student experience and social-emotional development and development around diversity. So we've made a couple of adjustments, but by and large, this survey has remained stable and consistent for 5 years. Trustees, as we discussed during executive session, it is very rare in a district to be able to look at a 5-year trend line on anything, and particularly in the state of Michigan, where our measures have changed fairly regularly. This is just a really great day. Now, trustees, we are diving in. Preschool through 12th grade EDs have been busy working with their principals around their component, which is their school report. And then we are diving into this district data. So this is my leadership team's favorite summer reading. And we will be getting deep into the details of this because it helps us. People take their time to help us to know how to do better. And we're going to get this for all it's worth. Now, tonight, what Ms. Linden will share with you, she's just going to spotlight a very few places. And then we would love, in fact, you will see us over the course of next year continue to reference this report in many of the plans and programs that we're rolling out. So with that, Ms. Linden.
Good evening again, trustees. I hope you're not tired yet of hearing from me this evening. Thank you very much for allowing me this time to present just an overview of our climate survey of parents, students, and staff, as Dr. Swift mentioned. This data is hot off the press, so we are just digging into this, and we're excited to do a deeper dive a little bit later. Today I'm going to show you dimension trends, and we'll talk a little bit about some challenges and highlights a little bit later. But before we get there, just an overview, if you would back up for me, Tiffany, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. You can see in the bold bulleted areas, those are our dimensions that we survey every year. And we try to share that data in those buckets so that we can see how we improve over time. So the data you'll see tonight is a comparison of how we've done in those big bucket areas. Just as a refresher, we do this survey with students in grades 3 through 12, every parent with an address in the system, and every parent who does not have an address in the system receives a paper copy to complete. So every parent in our system has an opportunity and many reminders from us to please share their input and perceptions with us. And every staff member in the district with an AAPS email address receives this link and also many reminders. So, all right, let's move on. This study has been in place for many years. This will be our 5th year of conducting this climate survey. As Dr. Swift mentioned, we have tweaked it a little bit to get a little bit deeper in some areas over the years, but in large part, it is the same survey that we've been giving every year. The next slide is about participation numbers. I think Dr. Swift shared we had 16,488 survey participants this year. So here you can see the breakdown by parents, staff, high school students, middle school students, and elementary students. And an important chart at the bottom which shows that we do deliver this survey in multiple languages: English, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Spanish. And you can see the count of how many surveys in each language are taken, so we know they're being utilized. The next slide shows you a comparison of participation over time. So you're looking at the purple bar, which is 2013-14, all the way up to the green bar, which is 2017-18. So in the parent group, you're seeing how many parents participated each year, 13-14, 14-15, on up to 17-18. And you can see we've kind of plateaued in the number of parents that we receive participation from. In the staff member group, you can see we're growing a little bit each year, with a small drop this year. High school students, we saw a higher number of high school students participating. So I want to thank our high school teachers and principals for allowing high school students time in the school day. The same is true for our middle school students, a big increase this year in their participation. So thank you again to our middle school teachers and principals. And our elementary students, just a small drop there, but we also want to thank them as well. And the next couple of slides, we're going to share some highlights and some challenges with you. This data will cover some dimensional overview data, but what you see in quotes are actual items from the survey, so you can see how it was worded. If it's not in quotes, it's usually a domain area or a general trend that we're seeing. So we're going to start with parents and highlights that we've noticed. So in the domain of academic preparation, over 5 years, we're seeing an upward trend of 4 points. Now, 4 points is the cutoff that K-12 Insight in their statistics say is significant. If the change is below 4 points, it's not significant. So we're only including significant areas here. When you dig deeper into this report, you're going to see a +2, a -1, a +1 here and there. K-12 Insight will tell you those changes are not significant. So we do pay attention to 4 and above. Children receiving effective instruction for his or her abilities is up 5 points. From the parent perspective, teachers are giving useful information about how to help children do well in school. And this may be a contributing piece of our MAP reports that are going home 3 times a year, and likely due to personalized learning plans and the communication that teachers are having with parents about specific goals. That's up 5. Overall perception of leadership. So leadership is one of those big domains. That's up 7 over 5 years, so we're pretty proud of that work. Our leaders making themselves available and ensuring that communication home is much more clear. And the principal making decisions in the best interest of students over 5 years is up 6 points. So those are positive and significant changes. Lastly, this is an interesting one. The setting of high behavior expectations is up 15 on a 5-year trend. When you look at the individual data, you'll see there's a small 2-point dip there, but over 5 years it's up 15 points, so that's significant. In the next slide, you're going to see that there are some perceptions about behavior that are different in different subgroups, okay? But staff, we need to run through these. Cleanliness is up 6 for staff perceptions, and that's a 5-year trend, remember. So you're going to look year to year and see some fluctuation, but if we go all the way back to 13-14, that is a 6-point increase. Now, I'm really going to caution you to look at the data for every year. But overall school operations, we're really proud of our operations team in this year. They're up 7 points on a 5-year trend, which is truly significant. Our instructional technology division has been working feverishly with the tech bond to get new technology into the hands of kids. So you can see that staff are noticing that. It's up 7% or 7 points with students having access. And then support for teachers to incorporate that technology is also up 6. So there's a partnership there between the tech and the teachers being supported in using that tech. Staff note that the school is well maintained. That's up 14 points on a 5-year trend. So again, a big shout out to the facilities department for their hard work, especially this year. When we look at the highlights for students, this is here on a slide by each level. So I'm really proud of this, that our high school students perceive parent involvement to be up 7 points over 5 years. That guidance counseling, and I know our guidance department, again, Leanne Dickinson, Kelly, Paul DeAngelis, and our counseling department, doing incredible work with Naviance and supporting students. So on a 5-year trend, the advice that students receive from counselors up 16, and then clear expectations about careers and post-high school pathways, that's up 11 points. So we should all be pretty proud of that work. I know they're not done. We're going to continue down that path, but it's exciting to see high school students noticing that. Middle school students, they note that teachers are giving them help when they need it. That's up 6 points on a 5-year trend. And then teachers giving feedback about their academic progress is up 7. So again, those are really positive components. And at the elementary level, in the domain of overall teacher quality, it's up 4. And I'm really proud of this piece, that students help each other at school. That's up 28 points from a 5-year trend. And again, you'll look at each year what the growth is a little bit later in that report, but those are some positive trends. Okay, let's talk about our challenges. You're going to see on this slide and the next that there are themes in the challenges here. One of the themes is in safety and behavior. It probably won't come as a shock to you that there are some safety concerns that parents and staff and students have, especially in light of what's been going on nationally. And that's reflected here in our survey data. So we anticipated a little bit of that. Cleanliness is also a theme that you'll see in particular on staff and students, or parents as well. And then there's a slight dip in respect for diversity, which I think also mirrors some national trend in our discourse. And it's disturbing. So we need to do a whole lot of deeper dive in those areas. So let's dig in here. Parents' perceptions of safety and behavior, it's not significant, it's 3 points, but it does show a trend when you look at what happens with staff and students coming up here. Respect for diversity, in particular in the area of race, ethnicity, or national origin, that shows a 4-point decline. My child is safe at school. And the second piece of this, students do not threaten or bully each other. Those are both a 5-point decline over 5 years. So those are of concern for us. On the staff side, respect for diversity again, race, ethnicity, down 4. So that mirrors the parent survey. And remember, we don't always see an alignment there between parents and staff, but in this case we do. So that's something we really should also pay close attention to. In the staff survey, you'll see behavior and discipline is a trend, in particular with staff. So discipline being enforced fairly, that's a 9-point decline over 5 years. There's a significant drop in high behavior expectations being set. That's a 15-point drop. And I think we've been hearing about students experiencing trauma and supports that students need at a younger and younger age. So when we break this data down, you'll see a lot of elementary responses there. And really folks needing support and how to help and how to deal with that. Let's talk about students. For high school students, there is a 6-point drop this year, or over 5 years, in a counselor or staff member being available to talk about personal problems. So this is not about career pathways and Naviance and advice. This is really about the personal aspects. So we're talking about students experiencing crisis, mental health. So we know where our efforts are, and there are already many positive things underway, but I don't think that data is surprising to our high school teams. The second one, I feel safe at school, is a 6-point decline over 5 years, again mirroring some of what we're seeing nationally, and it is not surprising, but it is disturbing to see that. So we need to continue to enhance the safety that our students experience at our schools. And then in the student support and engagement domain, there's a 9-point decline. So you'll be able to dive in a little bit deeper on the items as you dig into support and engagement category. For middle school students, a similar trend. Feeling safe at school is a 7-point decline. This piece about counseling and having adults at school tell them what they need to do to move to the next grade or to graduate shows a 7-point decline. Enjoying going to school is a trend at middle and elementary that shows a decline of our students enjoying going to school. That's an 8-point decline for middle school students. In that same category as high school, in student support and engagement, that domain is down 9. And then this is where cleanliness starts to show up. So at the middle school level, cleanliness is down 11 points on a 5-year trend. At elementary school, you'll see some similarities with middle. Decline in the respect and diversity category here, and the way we ask it at elementary is we ask, is everyone treated fairly at school? And there's a 5-point decline there. That's significant. The next one, my teacher explains things when I don't understand, is a 6-point drop. This one is of also grave concern to us, enjoying going to school. If you're an elementary student and you don't enjoy going to school, this is where it starts, your love of learning, and we need to enrich and make sure that the joy of learning is there for all of our kids, and that's a 6-point drop. This is the same piece about teachers giving help. There's a 7-point drop there. Teachers telling me I can ask questions when I don't understand is an 8-point drop, and this is the largest drop, is in cleanliness at 21 points. So these data tell us some important things. And it does tell us, and I think Trustee Mitchell, you shared this in the last question that you asked about, are we talking to our students? I think we have to do that more and more. This next slide is a next step slide. Here we talk about there are some increases in agreement on this survey, but for the last couple of years we've seen some plateauing, and you'll notice that in the survey. It's one reason we didn't bring you a comparison to last year. We brought you a 5-year trend report, because when you look year to year, there's 1 or 2 points difference. It never reaches the level of significance. So when you have 5 years of data, it's important to look at the history. And that's where we see some of these drops that are significant that we need to look at. But the amount of agreement has plateaued from year to year, so we need to think about that. We're talking here about it being beneficial in bullet point 2, to think about revising this survey, to dig in a little deeper in these areas of concern for us, right? So we need to stop asking surface level questions and dig in a little bit more with kids. It could be in focus groups. It's definitely going to be in the change of questions. And we want that approach, especially in this last bullet, to be aligned to our strategic plan work so that everything we do is connected and that we're all rowing together. That's how we're going to bring about change. So that's just some highlights. The individual item analyses are in the rest of that report, which is, I think, 87 slides long. So. And I know you just received that, so we'll be digging into that over the summer and doing a whole lot of work with building principals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this report, Ms. Linden.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.